What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Tuesday Track Talk, episode number 51 with your Three Stones pit crew. I'm your tire changer, Cam.
I'm your jack man, Kellen.
I'm your gas man, Cam.
We got another great episode in store here for you. We got a championship, wrapping up a championship here, some continued on traditions, and then our continued coverage of NASCAR playoffs as we continue on throughout the season and start to kind of wind down the season in some places. So, no, another great episode on hand. But as always, before we jump on into this, what's going on, fellas, since the last time we reconvened with each other?
Packers win. Badgers, as Fick would say, got an ass whooping.
Yeah.
Yeah. At the cost of losing our quarterback.
I was actually at the Packer game on Sunday.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I did not expect that outcome.
Yeah, there's 2 points I was going to say. The Badger game was, yeah, Kellen, you hit it already. Just a classic schlacking. But, you know, what team goes into a game and is prepared to lose your starting quarterback on the first drive? And now we lose him for the entire year, but whatever. This old young stallion, he's got about I give that guy about 2 games, and if he doesn't show me something, run him out of the gym. So we'll see what happens. And then, I mean, for real, he gave us a shot last year, and he was just not. I mean, he showed flashes, but he wasn't great last year. So it's like when he got thrown in on Saturday, it was like, hey, I kind of like. You don't feel like it's a lost cause. I'm like, this guy's got game experience. He played against Ohio State last year, and he just. There's 2 issues I have. He has 1 speed, and it's a fastball.
Mm-hmm.
And he's short, so I swear 50% of his balls are getting batted. So,
yeah.
Whatever. We'll see. But
the bad part about this whole scenario is I'll go down with the ship. It's the Badger thing. You ride or die with this team. It's every sport. They're going to get your hopes up, and then they're going to let you down.
Yep.
I'm not going to go on too much of a tirade, but this offensive coordinator, I give this guy
again with the shirt.
Kick rocks, bud.
Never fails.
Oh my! Dude buys a house, thinks he can do whatever he wants.
Good God, we're 2 for 2 in the new house now.
If you move your head,
just like you did.
Oh,
the other way.
Other way, this way. So I gotta sit like over here for now.
Yep, there you go.
And then as he walks by, just
last 2 points I was gonna make on this Badger team. This offensive coordinator, to be honest, man, I'm all for doing the air raid, but this guy, if we don't figure things out, I think this guy gets DOS boot pretty quick. I mean, granted, we're Wisconsin, but we do not need to be in the shotgun on 4th and 1.
No.
And then we get stuffed on the first drive. I mean, talk about taking the life out of the stadium. That was it. So, whatever. We'll see. We'll see where this goes. But second thing I was going to say, did you see on Sunday the old Packer quarterback, he couldn't throw that ball because the old center blew chunks on it?
Oh my God.
He yacked on the ball, and then LaFleur goes, "Why didn't you throw that one? You puked on the ball." I'll give you that one.
Yep.
Talk about a pleasant surprise when that ball comes back there.
And I saw the replay of that. There was no time to do anything about it. That was a yak, finished, snap the ball.
Yep. For sure.
So,
what if there's any chunks of anything on it or no?
Doc, God, stop.
Anyways.
And to that point,
let's talk a little racing.
Let's talk a little racing. This isn't a football podcast. This is a racing podcast. So, been a while since we talked some IndyCar, and I think it's fitting for kind of this week, being that it was championship race for them. So their season is now come and gone and it's done and over with. So let's touch a little bit on IndyCar here a little bit, and then we'll continue on with our proceedings. But Ended up having to watch a replay, or not a replay, but some highlights of this one, as I was otherwise preoccupied with the game on Sunday. But big note of this is it was the last race of NBC covering IndyCar, as they will be switching to Fox starting next year. So
That'd be interesting. I'll be curious to see how that goes for Fox.
I am as well. Especially, obviously, Lee Diffie's jumped over to the NASCAR crew, and is announcing races for them. So I not saying that the IndyCar took a hit, but he was definitely very enjoyable to listen to for those IndyCar races. I will say that
For sure. Absolutely.
So, when it came into it, it was before the race started. It was technically a 3-person race. 3 people had a chance to win the championship. Scott McLaughlin all week was trying to get Alex Palou to do something that would keep him from starting the race, because that's what kept McLaughlin in. So whether it was, hey, I got some fresh sushi and I got a cook that's ready to cook it and get it prepared, or there was skydiving brought up at one point in time, and he's like, I 100% did not sabotage this car. So it's just, he was kind of joking with it the entire week, knowing that he was going to be out as soon as they dropped the green flag.
Yeah.
And then your other title contender, Will Power, gets 5 laps into the race, and he has to pit under green because his belt's come undone.
It's the first time I've heard that one.
I've heard how belts come undone before, but you don't hear it often, and it's something happened to have that scenario happen. So
yeah, it's very uncommon.
Yeah. So to that point, it all but seals it for Palou. As long as he finishes the races, he pretty much locks up the championship. Is kind of how that goes.
Yeah.
So they were racing at the Nashville Super Speedway, which they haven't raced at since 2008, if I remember correctly. Maybe 2013. But it's been a long while since they ran on the oval. They've run streets for the past 3 years. Had to reschedule due to some scheduling conflicts. And but it put on a pretty decent race. Joseph Newgarden and Kirkwood battled out there for a little bit early on. As the race went on, that higher groove, if you had a really tight first lane and a real tight second lane, that third groove had nothing to it. If you got even your first tire into it, goodbye.
Yep.
I mean, we've seen that how many times at our asphalt tracks too. It's just there's no third groove, and if you get any bit of it, you're gone.
Yep, for sure.
And they caught a couple of guys too. A lot of them, a little bit of the solid side slap into the wall. Didn't quite end their race, but it definitely ruined their race.
For sure.
Otherwise, pit strategy obviously was the name of the game as well. Long green flag runs that mixed up the strategy a little bit. But when it came down to it, Colton Herta and Pato O'Ward are fighting it out with 5 laps to go. Herta ends up getting around to O'Ward with 5 laps to go with the help, a little bit of a helper, a lapper to take the lead. And obviously he goes on to win it, with Alex Palou winning his 3rd championship in 4 years in the IndyCar series.
Which is pretty impressive. I mean, there's not too often that you win that many titles in a year. I mean, we've been fortunate to see it on the NASCAR side of things when you look at somebody like Jimmy Johnson. But it's a very rarity to see that happen with such dominance like that.
Yep. And I'm just going to double check this, but if I remember right, 2 wins on the year is what he ended up with.
Yeah.
So in that case, you could say a model of consistency.
Yep. You ain't got to win, but you got to be there.
Yep.
And I think, just piggybacking off of that, being able to win, 3 championships in 4 years in motorsports, I feel like people don't realize the difficulty of doing it at any level. So many things have to go right for you to be able to do it. And, we look at somebody like Denny Hamlin, who is one of the best in the series, and he's been trying for so long, and every year something derails his championship hopes. So, I mean, obviously 3 out of 4 is quite a run there. So, Yeah, Palou's got it rolling.
Yeah, it keeps Chip Ganassi very happy. He, as he always says, he likes winners. So
Yep.
when it comes to the race though, Herta, Award, Newgarden, Kirkwood, McLaughlin, Ferrucci, Armstrong, Lundqvist, Malukas, and Connor Daly were your top 10 in that one. And your point standings, your top three ended up being Alex Palou, Colton Herta, Scott McLaughlin, and Will Power ended up fourth. Pat Award finished fifth on the championship rankings, which there was a lot of conversation around Award when Mexico City race got announced for NASCAR. Can he jump in? He's slated to do a practice session with the McLaren team over in Formula One. So he's got a lot of conversation around him right now as far as what he could drive.
The door's not closed.
Correct. Schedules already came out pretty early for IndyCar for next year. Their 2025 season starts on March 2nd over in the streets of St. Petersburg for their yearly opener.
Bit of an off season for them to regroup.
Yep. And a lot of them guys, like I bet you Newgarden, he'll probably do some of the sports car racing, especially when 24 hours Daytona comes around again next year. A lot of them guys, they stay busy. They take care. They do some stuff.
Racers race.
Yep. 100%. 100%. So cool. Any other thoughts before we move on to a little bit of a little closer to home race?
I've kind of actually tuned into a few races here and there, and they're interesting. That is for sure.
Yep.
Without a doubt. I mean, they put on a good product. It's definitely not something that you bat an eye at. They do put on a good product. So
Yep.
no, there'll be a little more attention there. That the new broadcast will bring some new viewers, myself included, to just see what that broadcast looked like, because when we've seen what they've done with NASCAR. So be kind of an interesting comparison to see what that broadcast looks like for them as they get ready for next season.
And I never thought of this too, but a lot of their races this year ended up being on Peacock.
Yep.
Weren't on any of the big channels. And Fox has said, yep, all of our races are going to be on the big Fox channel.
Yep. Making it a priority.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
As somebody who's not a Peacock owner, I'm looking forward to this move. Again, just gives us another option and another series to tune into and follow along with. That's easily accessible and right there for you. So, no, I'm excited for next year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right, let's move a little bit closer here. Kellen, you're probably going to pick up a little bit on this, being that is you were able to watch this, but a tradition that continues on, the National Short Track Championships, formerly at Rockford Speedway, have now moved to the Dells Raceway Park, so they pick it up with the 59th annual running of these races. I was able to go on Saturday for the Big 8 race. A little bit of a wreck fest, given it wasn't entirely their fault. Had a couple cars stacked on top of each other there as well. Had a motor blow that kind of oiled down the track a bit. So definitely some stuff that wasn't their own doing, but a little bit of a long night. And then the super late models took the main event on Sunday, which Kellen, you got to watch pretty much the entire race there.
Yeah, I pretty much watched them start. I did watch them start to finish. Yeah, it was a good race. Again, that high groove there at the Dells was able to hang on there for a little while. That's actually how Ryan Farrell got the lead.
Sure.
Kaler grabbed the lead there for a little while. He led a few laps, but what it came down to is Farrell put it on the top shelf and said, "Here we go." And he ripped her on the top and he grabbed the lead. I mean, it felt like, well, really what it comes down to with that race is Farrell started on the pole, and God, it felt like he led 145 or 140 of the 150 lap feature. That thing was on rails all afternoon. So there was a little attrition having the middle of the race, 112 to go, so you're only 35 laps in. Richie Bickle makes his return, but he pulled off. He was in a backup. The primary started on fire. He took it back to the pit, started on fire. So they had to go to a backup, but that car looked really good in the heat race. Again, he started outside row 3.
Sure.
He rolled the top to win the heat race. That thing looked really good on the top. And then Mechanical Gremlins kind of ended the night for him. Devoy pulls off with 97 to go. There was a couple other guys that pulled off. Sean Shield comes to a stop with 97 to go. Kind of that same. Shield brought out the caution. Devoy pulled off. Berge pulled off under yellow as well. A couple of those guys were able to come back and rejoin the field. But it kind of got racing there until the break. And then again, Farrell, he leads that halfway break and picks up the $500 bonus. So, he just honestly was pretty much a class of the field for that feature. But a little attrition again. Austin Nason has some gremlins. That's the bad luck for him around here, at least. Kind of reared its ugly head for him. Side note on that, I don't know if you guys saw that picture. Coming back from the Stars race, has toter issues. So he calls up a buddy, gets someone to pull the hauler home on Saturday night, and then rolls into the Dells on Sunday. So he was there. Car and loaded, decent heat race. But just again, Gremlins kind of got a hold of him again. 12 to go. Summers was running third, has a motor issue. Kind of seems to be the gremlin that has bitten him this year in a handful of races where he just has motor issues. So he pulls off running third, 12 to go. And honestly, it was the Ryan Farrell show. He had a 1.5 second lead. And then it was Johnson, had it down to 1.2. He had it down to just under a second. And then Farrell just did such a great job navigating through lap traffic that Johnson never really got. I mean, he got it to 0.6 of a second, but he could never really get into striking distance. So they had a pretty good race going on for second, third, fourth. Kind of that low, mid to low teens there. They had some good battles, but man, the Ryan Farrell show, that's all it came down to. He had an absolute rocket for that one. So cool to see. Good for him.
Yeah, he needed that run.
Yeah.
Not just the run, but the win as well.
Yeah, he's been a guy that, again, this year, when you look at the race at Jefferson, when he got mashed up early in the year, he just kind of been in the wrong place at the wrong time at certain points in the year. So he's, again, not his own doing in a lot of the gremlins that he's had, but good to see him really just put on a show. And he said that the Dells is his favorite place to run.
Yep.
So that's good for him to get that whole day put together. But when you look at the rundown for the finish of the feature itself, Farrell, Johnson, Fredrickson, Jeff Storm with a good run fourth, Fenhouse, Kaler, Bryce Miller, Bernhagen, Berge, Borntrager, Devoy, Hartwig, Marthaler. So that kind of rounds out your top 10, 11 for that group there. But no, I mean, really didn't tear nothing up real bad. Guys just racing hard. So good show.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Good segue to what will be the last big one up here for the Halloween.
I kind of I was thinking about that when I was sitting there on Saturday. That Saturday was my last trip to the Dells that I'll be taking this year, since I won't be in attendance for the Halloween.
To be determined for me yet.
Sure.
Pending some schedule stuff, but
sure.
I might get there for the Halloween. I'd like to, but we'll see kind of what shakes out for that one. So
yeah,
but yeah, good race. Like I said, didn't really tear anything up, just kind of gremlins here and there. So
I am glad though that they brought the reef out for the Dells as well. Yep. They kept the reef around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, when you look at the short track championships, a place like Rockford that had it, I mean, it really couldn't ask for a better place to take that event than the Dells.
Yep.
That's Dells does a very good job with their shows, and that's great venue to take that to. So
I kind of wonder, and you can attest to this, how Farrell was on the radio after coming
Oh,
across the line.
oh boy, I can
I
only
wonder
imagine.
how he was.
Well, he's excited. I can guarantee you that.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, no, like I said, good event, good race. Support divisions put on a good show as well. So, good to see.
Awesome.
Is
Yeah,
Richie
super.
Bickle ever gonna give it up?
No.
No, never.
Somebody really Ambrose is gonna say, "Hey, I want to get in the car again.
Yep,
Car's ready for you if you want it."
yep. Christ, they had two ready for him this weekend.
Yeah.
Because
Unfortunately.
after,
Right.
after his retirement, as his so-called or so to speak retirement or last race, every time we talk about a race up here, we're talking about Bickle, and I'm like,
Yep.
this guy was supposed to be done, but just keeps hanging around. So
I'm just gonna tell you, don't be surprised on October 19th if the 45 is unloaded at the Dells for the following.
I was about to say, I guarantee he'll be at Lacrosse
I
for
wouldn't
Oktoberfest.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, well, we were at the we were at Madison for the Howie Lettle. He was there. He wasn't racing, but he was there.
Yep.
He was there roaming around, taking in the racing. I wouldn't be surprised if that 45 makes one more appearance yet this year. Here in the following last year, so.
For sure.
But not good to see him though. It's always good
Oh,
to
yeah.
see him. Feel it. When he won that heat race, the crowd was excited.
Oh, I can imagine.
So yeah, that was cool to see in here.
young
Yeah.
Stallion Fredrickson putting on a good performance too as well. He's been steadily consistent over the course of this year. So that's another impressive and good run for him. So
Yeah, coming out, he won Tundra race at Sands a couple of weeks ago. He finished third. No, he won the one half of the CWRA race on Friday.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So he putting together a pretty solid rookie campaign. So that'll be he'll be a hot shoe come next year. He'll be someone he'll have to fend for.
I'll be interested to see, and again, this is a handful of weeks yet, but I'm be interested to see how he does at Oktoberfest. It'll be his second come around at Lacrosse in that car where he finished third last year.
Yep. For sure.
So that'll be interesting as well. So no,
Yeah.
any other final thoughts here on the Dells before we talk a little bit of our bread and butter of the cup racing?
No. It's rock and roll.
All right. So Cup Series, Watkins Glen for race number 2 of the playoffs. Again, I was able to watch pretty much the second half of this race, but we get to excuse me, sneeze that I didn't want to go. We get to the bus stop on lap 1 and we had some mayhem there already. Hamlin, Bush, Bell, Blaney all get caught up in it, and Blaney had some words to say at the end of that one.
And I'm with him on that though. I'm with him on that. They take that car and they tow him back to the garage. Well, they hook him up and he's done. Like,
Yep.
Whether it's terminal or not, let the crew take a look at it. Like,
Yep.
It's in reality, it should be no different than the DVP. Hamlin got to continue because he drove his car back to the pit. Well, somebody in the tower is just making a call. Well, I understand he's got an issue, but if you can pull him back to his box, it'd be no different than flats.
Especially, yeah, exactly. When
that's
we
what
said, guys.
I was gonna say that was his big point.
Yeah, that was just the part that I didn't. I'm like, wait, hold on a second here, and the window net was down, so he obviously knew that they told him he was done.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't like it. If it's terminal, let the crew decide that. Let them have a chance at it because that was a huge shot to his playoff run. Like, it didn't end it, but it wasn't the outcome that they were looking for. And the crazy part was that hit really wasn't that hard.
That's what I thought too. I was kind of watching the replay and I was kind of looking, I'm like, where did this terminal issue kind of come in?
it really wasn't a big shot that you're like, wow, that wrecked a lot of stuff. It didn't feel like that. So again, not in the car, but he also didn't feel like that either, obviously. So
Yeah.
yeah, lap one, bus stop one, and you got a playoff driver watching the rest of the event.
Thank God for that little bit of a lead that he had in the playoffs, because he's got a little bit of breathing room before heading to Bristol.
Correct.
Yeah, it wasn't great for the old Final Four pick that I made last week, but we'll bounce back.
Well, I was about to say, then so we get to the second restart here, and my old fantasy lineup took a hit right out of the gate, and Dinger breaks gets taken in the rear, and he ends up breaking on the second restart, or on the first restart.
Yeah, they interviewed me, said it felt like an axle, but when they looked at it, tried to do a little eval on it, they said it was more than that. So he just said, he goes, these guys know more about the car than I do with the mechanical side of things. He goes, I don't know, felt like an axle. He took it in, and that was kind of the end of it.
A little bit of a rough go on the cup side this year for Dinger.
Boom. I was just going to say, he's making the jump back, but Dinger has not had, if this was supposed to be a year to build some momentum and get him ready for the next year, going back full time, this has, I don't want to call it a nightmare, but it's the next closest thing to that.
Yeah.
He has not had a good
Now,
go.
given it's most of it has not been his doing either.
Right.
True.
It's just man, can't catch a break.
Nope. Yeah. He's gonna be somebody he started inside of road two.
Yeah.
He was gonna have, at the end of the day, the road course or his wheelhouse, he was gonna have something to say about that somewhere, whether it be strategy wise or
Yep.
a pit stop late, whatever it was gonna be, the dude was gonna have a little something to say about that race.
Yep.
I was thinking we were gonna have a Dinger SVG go at it again.
And you know what? That would have been a hell of a show, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But just two good road racers just go at it.
Yep. For sure.
But of course, you're looking at, Matt Collick and Chris Rice, and they'd probably both thinking, just don't wreck each other. Just don't wreck each other. Just bring it home.
For sure. Just have a chance at it. That's all I can ask
Yep.
for.
Yep.
So, yeah, done early. Unfortunately.
Kind of on the theme of playoff guys, another guy that ends up having a problem in that one. Suarez just locks him up and ends up in the sand.
Yeah, he ended up he slid about 6 inches too far, just enough to drop the rears in the sand. He couldn't get her locked up enough just in time to get it stopped. He slid off and the rockers caught it, and he was about this far too deep into the sand to be able to get that car out.
Yep.
So, yeah, kind of wrecked his day a little bit. Just track position being so valuable, that certainly didn't help him.
Yeah. And then Hamlin's rough day continues after he gets punted a second time on a 3-wide deal with Larson and Brad. And that was in the S's. And then Brad gets in another deal in the S's when he ends up with a whole lot of Byron on his window.
Literally right in his ear.
Yeah.
Like the football field, you talk about getting hit in the ear hole. That was that.
And I think that's one of the first times at speed that we've seen that tire on tire climb with these cars.
Yeah, for sure. They caught in that 24 went airborne like
yeah.
No. Yeah.
And then hit the wall. I mean, it was a hit into the wall as it was, but it was just a weird angle into that wall too.
And even listening to the IndyCar, you could hear Brad lift.
Yep.
That's
he got tagged by Logano.
He lifted, and it just, you were going through a hole for 2 cars, and there was 3 of them there.
Yep.
What are you gonna do?
Yep. So those S's played a little bit of a havoc on some of them guys.
Yeah, for sure.
This weekend too. Get down to the end, have a couple of restarts, just some cars spinning, can't, almost like the Xfinity race, just don't want to finish the race.
Yeah.
Type of thing. which I got to thought about that when we get around to it. But SVG goes 3 wide in turn 1, gets around Holsevar and Busher to take the lead going up the S's. But Busher wasn't going to go down. He was going to go down fighting.
Yeah, and it kind of even jumping ahead a little bit, SVG said it in his interview. I gave him one. I knew there was one coming.
Yep. And you know what? It wasn't even that bad of a shot either.
No, they definitely didn't rough each other up. It was you gave him a bumper, you just knew he was going to give you the bumper back. And
I tell you what, though, I was listening to it on the way home. I was listening to the NBC broadcast. I tell you what, Lee Diffie, another week, another fantastic call of a finish of a race. He's talking about Keselowski and Ambrose and their amazing finish, their last lap battle. And just as he's starting to bring it up again, kind of transition to it, Busher catches SVG after he makes his mistake.
Yep. Let's be honest, a very uncharacteristic mistake from SVG.
Yes, absolutely. And he said it too. He's like, I just flat out missed it. That was 100% driver error.
Yep, pushing a little hard because he knew
Busher was there.
He knew Busher was there, and he knew he had one coming.
Yep. But kudos to Busher too for not following his tracks, making the same mistake, and to be able to capitalize. I mean, that's textbook as you can get.
Yep.
And after Busher gave him that little bump and run, there was towards the end there that right before those last 2 corners, I thought SVG was going to get another shot.
I thought so too.
And I thought he was going to get there and he was going to have another shot to give him another bump and run and get a shot to win it. But again, he was trying to get everything he could, and you can see the talent that he has when that car is sideways, and somehow he kept it going
twice.
And as he's sideways doing his victory drift lap in second place. But yeah, I mean, watching that last lap, it was like, yeah, he got one, but I thought SVG was coming and I thought he was going to get another shot. And I'm like, he's going to get there and he's going to have a shot to give him another bump, but
we're going to drag race to the line type of thing.
Correct. But he's just pushing and trying to get everything he can and just went a touch over the line.
Yep. He slid coming out of, I think it's 11, I think is that last turn.
Yeah.
That last right-hander coming to the start-finish line.
Yeah.
You saw him go in and you just saw him slide up and it's like, yep, there it is.
Yeah.
That was the gap that Busher needed.
Yeah, for sure. Good for Busher.
That was an overdue win that he needed.
They've had a lot of speed in that car. And again, some of the stuff not his own doing that he just hasn't been able to catch a break. But
I mean, guy literally lost by 1/1000th of a second earlier this year.
For sure. And you could tell how happy he was. They asked him, does this kind of take away some of the sting in the playoff? Oh, for sure it does. So
yeah.
Good for him and good for that organization that again, they've proven that they can bring fast cars to the racetrack and get the job done.
As they always say, winning cures all ailments on a racing team.
Yep.
And I was going to say, for some of these teams, if you get the brunt end of the stick, you don't want to go 0 for 2 on the year. If you can't get one, get the next best option. And again, if you're not going to make the playoffs, go out and win a bunch of races and build confidence and help a teammate out that's in the playoffs. I mean,
that's exactly it, where he's hot at the right time, where he can get up there and he can steal points from other playoff drivers that in turn can help the 6. He obviously is racing his own race, but at the end of the day, if you're going to give points up, you might as well give points up to the car that you own if you're the 6.
To that, and to that point, let's just say if one of the playoff guys do win, that knocks Brad another position down on the standings. He goes into Bristol with a 12-point deficit. Going into Bristol, that's a very manageable 12 points that he can make up. He's got a good fighting chance. The other thing too, And this is probably the first time since the early 2000s, given it was a 4-car team, 5-car team, really then. RFK has all their full-time cars win a race in 1 year.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
So that's
There.
cool. That's good for Roush Fenway, Keselowski as well. The
Yep.
team is back.
Absolutely. Still opportunity to expand and continue to make that program even stronger.
Which he got asked about that again and said, nothing. I got nothing to tell you.
Oh yeah. Well, Danny Hamlin had a little something to say about the Chargers.
Yeah.
But
So when it comes down,
go ahead.
I
Yep,
was gonna say I was just gonna run the top 10 here real quick.
We'll get into
Yeah, so Chris Buescher wins it. SVG grounds out second. Carson Holzbard, good run for him. He had that chance to steal one away too, honestly.
Yeah.
Ross Chastain, who led half of the race, honestly, more than half of the race. Zane Smith, a solid run for him. Briscoe, McDowell, LaJoy, Ryan Preece, and Austin Cindric round up your top 10. Honorable mention, Noah Gragson at 11th. Before you get to your point, I just want to say I had a colleague text me who's kind of on and off been watching NASCAR this year. He sent me a text of the top 10 leaderboard. He just goes, who are these guys?
Well, correct.
But that's the thing that these road courses could do is they could bring different guys into the fold to, in this case, play playoff spoiler or to win races. And if I look at this right, 9 of the top 10 with Cindric finishing in 10th as the only playoff guy in the top 10.
You got the 3 Spire cars in the top 10.
And you got 3
I was
Spire
just
cars
gonna-
in the top 10.
I was just going to say, you want to talk about leveling the field a little bit? No disrespect to Spire, but when we go to a Kansas, a Las Vegas, we go to a 1.5-mile track. Unless it's on strategy, they're just not the speed to be top 10 cars.
Yep.
Yep.
These road courses, again,
Their time to
exposes
shine.
different drivers' weaknesses and gives, drivers an opportunity that, this is their strength. That gives them the time to shine. It is an equalizer.
Yeah. I mean, Larson finished 12th as your highest weekly contender, and he still had issues in that race.
Dude, did anybody see Zane Smith blocking the piss out of him?
Oh, my. 3
No.
Dude, yeah.
going down that long straightaway going to the bus stop.
Oh, Jesus. That's a dangerous one because that's one of them that you could get just shoved right into that short shoot. And now you got to stop and go in that for that.
He had that thing 6 lanes wide. He was wow.
Yeah.
For the record, Dinger is listed as a transmission as to why he didn't finish the race. For the record.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, Blaney, 0 laps completed. Yikes.
Yeah. Kind of one other note, Truex just is tired of it. Tired of how he's been raced. I guess I would say not tired of it, tired of how he was raced, I guess is how you would say that.
I put this point in here. I feel like it's just a culmination of everything. I mean, we talked on the past, last week, I think it was about, it sucks that these, when guys announce that this is their final season full time, like, just don't announce it because I feel like as soon as you put it out in the world, like you bring this hoax on yourself that you're going to run like shit.
Yep. I mean, you said that, last week too.
We went right from Jimmy to Kevin and now to Martin. And I think, I put this point in here, in his interview, he just looks tired. And I feel like it's a combination of he knows he can run and win, but every week, whether it's self-inflicted or he's caught in crossfire, he's getting caught up in shit that ruins his week. He's getting, a young stallion running into him. He's getting just times have changed and feel bad for the guy, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good guy. He's done it right. and you want him to go out on his own terms and the way he wants to, and run well. And it just every week something is a bad pit stop, engine failure, he gets ran over. It sucks, but
Yeah.
I don't know. And the other point too is looking at that those playoff standings, staying right in that camp. The old JGR camp is got a couple bricks in their shorts heading into this week. There, you're looking at Denny Hamlin, who I would have never guessed sitting below the cut line. You got Martin Truex below the cut line, and you have Gibbs +6
Who's
on.
floating right there? Yeah.
So I mean,
Bell didn't have a great day either.
He's still 46 to the good.
Not again.
Mathematically can still get eliminated, but
Correct.
I mean, we're talking about Brad Keselowski or somebody having a good run here and potentially eliminating 3 JGR cars in the first round of playoffs.
Winning the race.
Yep.
I mean, that's
the whole other piece of that. Somebody like that wins that race, that shakes that up in a hurry.
But so to that point, let's look at the opposite way. Let's look at some guys that, you're kind of surprised that are maybe up there. I think Cindric at +43, gotta be a little surprised.
Yep.
But given he's come on a little bit this year, Suarez +36, Briscoe, he's got a fighting chance. He's +6 right now.
Yep. Yeah.
He's given himself a fighting chance.
All 4 of those guys, I would say, stock up on the year. Just based on where they're at and what they've done. All those guys, we haven't been shy about our opinions and what we think, what they had to do, and the expectations. And I think we can go right down the line and say Cindric we put on blast and on the hot seat, Suarez, and I think the entire SHR camp. And all 3 of those guys stock up to them for this entire year. I don't think any of us would have put those 3 in the position they are right now.
And I know obviously it's, Briscoe's an SHR driver. He's got to finish out the year with SHR. But man, what did it be something if he wins on Bristol on Saturday night, and just by how the points play out, knocks out 3 Joe Gibbs cars that he's going to be driving for next year. Just, could you imagine
the irony? Yeah, for real. It's interesting. That's an understatement.
Another thing to keep in mind here too is I'm looking at 7, 8, 9, and 10. Elliott, Blaney, Larson, and Byron. They are 30, 29, 26, and 25 to the good. They're not necessarily safe by any means either.
No, you got to make all the laps without a doubt.
This is one of those that I figure Bowman, Cindric, and Bell, who are all 40 plus to the good. I figure that they're coming in. Let's just finish the race. Finish the race. We'll be fine.
Even then, you have a really good stage 1. You can mathematically lock yourself.
Yep, 100%.
Then you don't have to worry about the finish even.
So from 5th to 16th, anybody's race.
Yep.
Anybody's race. I mean,
the way that cut line is shaking up, I feel, and I could be wrong, but I feel like the cut line is tighter this year than it was last year.
Yep.
It just feels that way.
And I don't know why I feel like part of that is, I think we can all say the drivers that are on the cut line or in that mix have amplified it. I think last year, I was going to say 100%. And I think, last year, the points wise, it might have been similar, but I think it's amplified right now. I feel like last year it was status quo. You're looking at guys that were in, the playoffs went as expected. You gave it the old eye test. Yep, these 4 get eliminated here. You can eye test the next round. Yep, these 4. And it just went kind of as expected. We're we're on our heads right now
Yep.
with my expectations for what the playoffs are going to be. Not in a million years would I put Denny Hamlin below the cut line going into the first round of the playoff, the final race of the first round.
Have you guys been paying attention to his actions detrimental or seen clips from his podcast recently, like in the past 3-4 weeks?
Just
I
kind
have.
of here and there, little bits and pieces.
Do you know about the dog Lulu?
Nope.
So after St. Louis or before St. Louis, I think during the off week, he got a dog, or I should say his daughter came home with a dog named Lulu. Since he has gotten the dog, his performance has.
Oh,
So Gabe Hart this weekend pulled over Hamlin and Jared, his social media guy, his PR guy, his host that's on the podcast, and says, "You got to do something with that dog. You got to do something with that dog." And Hamlin has even said too, he's like, he was skeptical about keeping the dog as it was. And now that he's had kind of a bad performance these handful of weeks, he's like, I don't know if I'm really a big fan of this dog.
I
So
I do remember the first episode that I listened to when they had that dog, and his daughters obviously are like, "Oh, we got to keep this dog," and they brought it to him on the show, and he's
yeah,
like, "I just look at this thing and I see cute now, but a ton of work in the long run." And his girls obviously don't see that.
yep. And now he's got, for lack of a better term, bad luck.
correct.
So it's just, I saw that. I had to laugh.
Good Lord.
But yeah, I mean, final point kind of on this playoff is this is a stressful week, but as a fan, we live for a week like this where stage
Going,
one, where it's everybody's pointing, everybody's counting points from the first lap. How many laps do we have to make? Where are we at? And from the drop of the green flag. And we're doing it at a track where it's elbows up for
the Bristol Night race. I mean,
Saturday night.
this is setting up to be perfect.
Yep.
This is setting up to be perfect.
There's gonna be fireworks.
I'm half debating if I want to go to Elko on Saturday. Just for the fact of either A, I get to go to Elko, or B, I can stay home and watch this race. I mean,
good luck making that.
I know first world problems.
the only thing that I don't know if it's perfect yet. Are we bringing that second compound?
No, well, yeah, I suppose we don't know what tire we're bringing yet.
If you want to talk about perfect, this will be the race of the year if we got that video game compound with us.
I was thinking about that too, like doing research for the race. I'm looking back to the spring race. I'm like, I got nothing to go off of.
That was kind of a shit show.
Yeah, I got nothing to go off of.
It was the perfect storm of a shit show, but it was kind of a shit show.
Absolutely.
I hope to God they bring that tire back.
Oh man,
dude, just awesome. That was so awesome. Please bring it back.
Let's you've somebody put in this debate topic here. Let's just touch on this real quick, and then we'll move on here. SVG obviously going full time next year in the Cup Series. First point, one, will he win a race next year?
Yes.
And I think I would have to agree. Yes. Obviously, I think it'll be on a road course.
Yep.
But I could see where, as you get to some of these tracks that he's gone to a second time now in this car, you'll see the performance step up a little bit.
Yep.
I think you're seeing it in the Xfinity car, and I think you'll see it in the Cup car as well. Especially, since I think the Cup car kind of suits his driving style a little more.
It feels more like the sports car he's comfortable driving.
Yep. 100%.
That's where I feel from a feel standpoint, it feels more like what he's comfortable with. So I think that's where it'll suit him a little better, or has suited him better.
And I think to that point, like Juan Pablo Montoya, he was in the race this past weekend. Didn't have a great race by any means, but obviously he got the post race interview afterwards. It's just the obvious question was, well, how was the car? How did you feel in the car? He's like, honestly, that's one of the most comfortable I've ever been in a race car. Like just everything between the sequential gearbox, how it drove. He's like one of the better cup cars I've ever drove.
There you have it.
So
Here's my prediction. He gets in.
I think he gets one win.
Yep.
One win to get him in.
Yep, because there's a lot of road courses, so he'll have a really good chance at a couple of them.
Yep.
I could see him finding himself at the cut line a year from now in this scenario.
So I was just looking at the schedule ahead. The first round of the playoffs next year is Darlington, St. Louis, Worldwide Technology, and Bristol.
Darlington, Worldwide, and Bristol.
Correct. That's your round one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not going to say he's going to struggle, but those are damn tough tracks.
You don't get a road course race in the playoffs until the last race of the second round.
He's around a 16 guy. I'll call it. That's what I'm going to call him. He'll get in, but I just don't know if he's going to have enough horsepower, and I could very well be eating my words a year from now, but I just.
Honestly, out of those three tracks, the one that I feel like you'd have the best shot at is Bristol.
Probably.
That's just the one I feel like you would have the best chance at. Just because I think that's more given. Every track is a driver's track, hands down. But I feel like that's a little bit more in his hands than Darlington. Darlington is one of those tracks that it eats up and spits out new guys.
And veterans if you miss.
Yep. So I just that's if I would agree with you. Round of 16, best chance is Bristol.
Yep, that's what I would say. He'll win one or two. I could see him potentially winning two.
Yeah.
He'll have a shot at the Chicago Street Course.
Yep. Sonoma, Watkins Glen, Circuit of the Americas. Yep.
Mexico.
That'll be a new one for everybody. Yep.
I mean, he did it in Chicago first time everyone showed up. Wouldn't be surprised if he does it down there too.
I will say this. We know that he's got a passport, so he'll be there.
Yep. For sure.
I was going to say, so I posed those questions. I do think he'll get in the playoffs. And to be honest, for him, it's, talking here in the schedule for him, it's going to be get in and just survive the first round, find a way to survive and advance. And once you advance, you're going to, again, the
Roval is circled on that calendar.
Correct. And it's going to be just these next 2 weeks, don't do anything that's going to put us severely behind the eight ball. Just let's run the game. Let's stick to the strategy. Let's manage everything. And then when we get to the old Roval, it's going to be all right. Now it's your time to shine. You're in a Hamlin spot. You're 6 below. This is exactly where we want to be. Go do your thing.
Yep.
I'm just looking something up here quick. God dang it. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. I was just looking to see how many races the Australian V8 supercars race in a year. 3, 6, 9. And if this is right, 10, 11, 12. So they have 12 races on their year. So you're jumping. Obviously, he got a good dose of what a full-time season is with the Xfinity Series. Gets tougher when you get to the Cup Series.
Yeah.
So that'll be another aspect too. It's the putting the year together. We talked about that with Rico Abreu over on the high limit side. Being able to put an entire year together.
Yep.
To keep yourself in a contention. I think it's going to kind of be the same thing here as well.
Absolutely. I feel like that's a fair statement.
So, all right. Anything else we want to talk about with NASCAR before we hop on some
Saturday night, 6:30
topics?
under the light. Do or die. I'm in.
As they say, be there or be square.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll be juiced up this weekend. This is it don't get much better than this.
The only other thought that I had is that I go to Elko, I bring the battery pack with me for the phone, and I just sit there watching the race there as well.
True.
That was the only other thought that I had.
You have viable options.
Yep. They are there. All right, let's talk about some news that came out of the racing scene this weekend. Some big news, some ones that we kind of expected, some surprising ones as well, but kind of quiet week as well. Let's start with kind of the surprising one and one that's kind of been building over the year. RTJ kind of spreading his wings into other racing ventures as he hops in a 410 sprint car with high limit over the weekend.
Yeah. But kind of rumblings of it. He's been looking for his chance, and Indy Race Parts decided to give him a phone call. So at the end of the day, I mean, he finished 14th in the B main night 1, 7th in the C main night 2, but didn't go upside down. The car is in one piece, and they loaded it back up.
Yep. And I'm sure he learned a lot.
Yep.
And I don't want to add, gas to a simmering fire that is now past, but the whole SSI thing that left us our head in the spin cycle and our minds blown on how this parting happened. I'm starting to be more and more convinced that it's the schedule that he has now is a good reason of why it is, because he has been able to run whatever he wants.
We've thrown this phrase out already a couple times today. I think it's fitting for this as well. Racers race.
Dude's on a Tuesday night running a stock car for $100,000 to win.
Yeah.
He's in a stock car. He's in a Kohler midget. He's in a wing sprint. He's
running his late models on the weekend.
Running his late models, and they're talking about a potential asphalt start. I mean, I don't know. The schedule he's been on and what he's been able to do, I wonder if that was
Kohler Motorsports said, yeah, as long as you run the Lucas Oil season, do what you want.
Yep. For sure. I'm convinced.
Yep.
Absolutely. So.
No, it'd be cool to see if he hops in a 410 here in a few more races this year. I would not be surprised if he ends up at the Chili Bowl this year in a midget. Would not be surprised at all.
Nope, me either. Absolutely not.
So, a guy that I also hope to see in a midget car at the Chili Bowl, but he'll be racing another type of car next year. And I think this is one that everybody pretty much had a hunch on, and it finally got confirmed. Carl Larson will be doing double again in 2025, the 8500 and the Coke 600.
You knew how logistically it went last year, that they know what they got to do now, that it was pretty much a guarantee. You just needed it to be officially announced. That's all.
Just need to make sure all the sponsors were like, you all right with doing this again? Yep. All right. Sounds good.
Yep. Yeah, I would say pretty much a given, just waiting for that public confirmation.
Yep. So Hendrick made it a very big point of saying that the Coke 600 takes priority, and that even if he's leading the 8500, he will take him out of the car, which I do not believe at all. You're telling me you're gonna take a guy out of the Indy 500, leading the Indy 500, to go race the Coke 600. I don't see it happening personally.
Not either. No.
That's just some speak out there that he's.
If you're in the top 15, if you're in the top 15
things to please NASCAR after what they had to go through this year and the whole, whatever.
Yep.
He's just gonna put a little speak out there and say the right things. We all know. And NASCAR, this is their golden child. They'll give him a waiver if he wins the Indy 500.
Yeah. And I'm sure all the drivers would say the same thing. It's like, yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah.
So, sticking with the NASCAR scene, jumping to Xfinity, a little bit of a shocking one. It's shocking. Klingerman stepping out of the car full time at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that was kind of sudden. I don't know. He's had the gig with NBC. He's been doing that. It does a good job with it.
Yep.
I guess I was not sure he was ready for that full time yet, but that appears that that's where he's headed.
I wonder if there's anything going on with the CW.
Yeah, I kind of wondered that. So
I just wonder if that's kind of what's drawing him away. That full-time year on the CW, at least covering the Xfinity series. And then when NBC picks up Cup Series, jump into that as well.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, for him, he does a dang good job.
Yeah.
And for him, if he can make a living, he obviously is going to be around the sport. He's going to be doing everything, but a lot less stress of behind the wheel and the expectation of performance. So
the other thing too, and who's to say maybe he ends up being a studio guy or something like that, but he brings that driver's perspective too.
Yep.
He'll know the ins and outs of the Xfinity series left and right, which will add a really great perspective to that broadcast.
Yep. Who's to say he ends up in a booth?
Maybe, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to put him in a booth for a lot of those Xfinity races. Why wouldn't you?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to let you two take the reins on this next one, and especially one that's maybe wearing some stuff on this. We've been hearing rumblings about this for about a week, and it finally came out.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't even dawn on me. I just put the green and green together. But yeah, and Brandon Shepard announces him and Longhorn and Riggs are parting ways. He will no longer be the Longhorn factory team car at the end of this year. And I feel like this announcement probably was rushed based on what went down last week on social media. You could see the formal typed up announcement that was leaked on social media. And unfortunately, probably before it should have been. And then the next day he has to put out, ironically, pretty much the same letter, but just an added paragraph on how some scum leaked this news, basically. Yeah, it was pretty dicey last week. You hate that he doesn't get to come right from him that this happened. But again, I think we all could. There's this late model, silly season, hot seat, jumping seat. Whatever you're going to do it's wild, and the driver changes and seat changes is, whatever. We've heard this, and now it's confirmed, and now the speculation is about the old XR1 house car. Are we looking at a reunion there?
And it's kind of a twofold there because he's also separating from Riggs as well. So it's not only is he leaving the Longhorn factory team, he's also leaving that team that he was a part of with Shepard Riggs Racing. So it's a little bit of a twofold there for that. So again, you'd like to see him do that on his own terms. It's too bad that somebody had to do that for him. It shouldn't have gone that way, and you feel bad for him with that sense to let him or let the organization break the news that it had to come from someone else or a social media post that, this got leaked. And yeah, so I don't know. What it does come down to though is he will have a ride and he'll be in good equipment next year. We don't know where that is, but he will be in a ride that will win races. End of story.
Yep, 100%.
Dude, one side tangent. If you guys ever want to get cheap entertainment, when they break racing news, get in the comments and read the comments, because there are some people on there that just say some stuff, some dumb stuff, and then you'll get legitimate responses. Like somebody commented on his post, "Yep, back to the XR1 taking T-Max spot," and his racing page actually responded and said, "Please see my post again, or please reread my post. I will be starting the year at the Wild West Shootout in my family-owned B5. We are still working on further plans. So
Yep.
it does get kind of interesting. Then you see somebody comment, this is why, or so much for my, which I was in the same boat, so much for my B5 Longhorn gear that I just bought. And then like he gets on, or whoever does and gets on and responds, thankfully I own all my merchandise. So thank you for your support. It still goes to my team. And this still helps out my racing career. So,
Yeah.
But if you ever you want some cheap entertainment, get in the comments of some of these posts and read some of the people that go back and forth. It is, it is funny, but, yeah, can't say it was unexpected. We'd kind of been hearing the smoke, and it's finally confirmed.
Yeah. Last one here, and this is another one that's been kind of rumbling for a little bit. Jumping on the sprint car side of things, Corey Day, will be making 4 starts and a 5th truck for MHR. He'll be racing Bristol, which is Thursday, Kansas, Homestead, and Martinsville.
Yeah.
And this comes on the heels of rumors that Corey Day not out of his sprint car, but just will not be returning to that seat on the sprint car, and him potentially going full time in the truck series, pretty much under the Hendrick Motorsports wing.
Yeah, you can pretty much see, being that it'd be sponsored by HendrickCars.com, that the 2 and 2 here is starting to make 4, with that seat may open, but he's now got a heavy slate in one of the top 3 series in NASCAR. So
Yep.
it's no coincidence, but at the end of the day, good for him. He's hopping in trucks that are going to be quick. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's getting in good equipment with MHR, but there's been rumors about it. Well, he's going to get a heavy dose of it now, and if he performs, it's going to make that transition very easy.
And a lot of praise from Larson too. Has said that he's a lot better race car driver, especially in a sprint car, than he was.
Yep. That's it. When we were talking about before we started, that's going to be the Larson 2.0. It's going to be get yourself into the top 3 series, and when they got that weekend off, or you got a Tuesday night show, somebody will find him a sprint car to drive, because he's proven that time and time again that he can do it on the dirt too.
Absolutely.
So,
and I hope he doesn't, get off the dirt completely.
Yep. You just hope to see him show up and go 15th to first some night like he does.
My God.
So
Yeah. And then, the other point with that is supposedly he's out of that sprint car. And I guess my thought is the way this is lining up, again, no direct statement, but my guess is he's getting pulled to the asphalt side. And I sure as heck hope that he's choosing this route of like, hey, I see the upside of the asphalt side and I've got an opportunity and I can move through the ranks there. I really hope this isn't, he is getting Das Boot from his sprint car team, because if that is the case, I mean, this guy at 18 years old is putting on unreal performances.
Do you know what needs to happen? And I don't think this would help Larson at all, because him and Paul Silva have raced for years together. But Hendrick needs to enter a sprint car with the help of Silva.
I like that idea.
That's what he needs to do.
I hear you loud and clear on that situation.
All right. Larson wants to go run somewhere. Silva doesn't want to go. Here, hop in my car. Corey Day wants to run somewhere. Here, hop in my car.
I'll unload 2 cars on the same track for you guys.
Sure.
I don't know.
A guy could dream.
10-4 to that. We even got sponsors, HendrickCars.com.
There you go. There you go. Yep.
For sure. Absolutely.
So, all right. Any other news that we want to touch on here real quick before we look at other races, start looking forward to the next weekend?
Just hang on. Let me refresh X real quick. Let's just see.
Oh, God. Well, while you're looking here, I'll go through some other races that happened over the weekend. Minnesota late models. Shane Sabraski wins At I-94. They were another series that ended up wrapping up their season as Cole Searing gets his championship number 2 with those Soda Light models. Arrington Jennington wins on the Power I sprint cars at Lucas Oil. Michael Colford goes on a little bit of tear with the World Outlaws, winning at Bakersfield and Merced Speedway for the World Outlaws. Kyle Cummins wins on the USAC Amsoil sprint cars, as well as Kevin Thomas Jr. Corey Day, speaking of, he won night number 1 at Lernerville for the Commonwealth Clash with High Limit Series. Jake Buback ended up winning night 2 of the Power Sprint cars at Lucas Oil. Connor Zilich, hey, another guy that's been making some names. He won the ARCA race and then ends up winning the Xfinity race at Watkins Glen and his first career start. Mike Litchfield ended up winning the Big 8 race at the Dells for night number 2 of the National Short Track Championships. Tyler Courtney ends up winning the Commonwealth Clash with the High Limit Series at Lernerville. Devin Moran wins the XR Super Series race at Muskegum County Speedway. Ron Selk ends up winning at Riverhead for the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Series. Spencer Davis and Carson Quaffle win for the Cars Tour at South Boston. Casey Roderick wins at Toledo in the Glass City 200 for the ASA Stars race. Yep.
Pause right there. So I refreshed Twitter. This is a great thing to do. So there's been a video of Matt Tift circling as he got tackled. He got kicked. He literally was down and got kicked in the face.
Yep.
They have come out with their penalty statement today as of just now. So Matt Tift, he got 3 different rules violation. He got a $250 fine, 25 point loss for both National Tour and CRA Super Series,
which means nothing to him.
And he's on probation for the rest of the year. Calendar. Okay. Crew members from Billy Van Meter's team. The individual has been suspended indefinitely from all ASA and CRA sanctioned events, a $2,000 fine, loss of 25 ASA Stars National Tour and CRA Super Series owner points. And the owner and team have been placed on probation for the remainder of the calendar year. Scrolling down a little bit further. So, Billy Van Meter also got a few things in there as well. A couple different rules violations, a loss of 25 National Tour points and CRA Super Series. And he has on probation for the remainder of the season.
So essentially, the team member that kicked Matt Tiff in the face got suspended.
Yep. Matt Tiff got a little something for going over there. And then Billy Van Meter got his actually for quote unquote rough driving.
Sure.
So his were
actions on the track,
engaged in driving that resulted in an excessive number of on-track incidents during the season. So,
as Tift said it, he got Van Metered.
Yep. So that post came out from Racing America from the Stars National Tour 14 minutes ago.
Good timing.
So yeah, kind of the news that kind of puts an end to, well, the tour has made an announcement on the video that has surfaced of Matt Tift being 1 in the pit box and 2 being kicked.
Yep.
He did put out his video too, saying he's still mulling, actually pressing charges. So he originally said he wasn't. Initially said he wasn't going to, but he's been mulling it over. So again, this is a part of racing we hate talking about.
Yeah. So.
I just refreshed X too, and one of the questions that was posed was, I wonder what Corey LaJoy could do in better equipment. And one of the responses is probably wreck cars that are closer to the front.
Jesus. Jesus.
Nobody is safe on X, to say the least.
Tell you that.
You just hit that refresh button and you never know what's going to come
My
up.
God. All right, let's wrap up winners here real quick. Oscar Piastri wins at Baku in Formula One. Colton Herta wins for IndyCar. Buescher won for Glenn. And then, as we talked about, Ryan Farrell won at the Dells for the National Short Track Championships. That's all I got there.
Nice.
All right. Any other news items that we want to cover before we jump into some previews?
No, I think I'm good.
So how do we want to divvy this up?
I'll take numbers 4 and 5.
Okay, Cam, what one do you want?
Oh boy. I guess out of my element, I'm gonna take.
I'll tell you what, you take 3,
Whoa.
I'll take 1 and 2.
Okay.
If that works for you.
Yep.
Okay, so to that point, number 1, the Four Crown Nationals at Eldora. This is a yearly event for the USAC series. They'll have all 3 of their national touring series there, and they'll be joined by the High Limit series this year at Eldora Speedway. Last year, Logan Seavey ended up sweeping all 3 races for the USAC series, which is very, very unheard of. And like I said, High Limit will be joining the program this year, so it'll be just interesting to see what kind of crossover we get between those 2 series this year. Another one that's kind of sticking local here, the Wisconsin State Championships at Jefferson. Another yearly one that we have going here, kind of focusing mainly on the truck series. They'll be racing there on Friday. Brandon Reichenberger looks to lock up the championship this weekend there. We got practice on Thursday and then racing on Friday and Saturday night. Usually ends up having a pretty good count when it comes to the super late models. It'll be a little bit of a fight when it comes to having the Midwest tour there as well, but either way, wrap it up kind of the racing season up here in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah, for sure. They also have a practice night, just heads up on that. So Thursday's
Practice Thursday. Yep.
Open practice. We'll have a lot of crews on hand on Thursday, especially on the truck series side. They'll have a lot of crews there that'll be getting their stuff dialed in.
Sure.
So yeah.
Jumping right next into my the bread and butter of my racing knowledge, the ASA Midwest Tour at Elko, and as we mentioned here, we might have boots on the ground here. It's up for debate, so stay tuned. But that is at Elko for the Thunderstruck 93. Unfortunately, last year we could not conquer Mother Nature, so it was rained out. But looking at your point standings, we're looking at, we talked about it earlier, Gabe Sommers is your leader. Levon Vandergeest minus 32. Correct me if that VDG is
okay. Yep.
Majeski back, he's 65 back. Justin Mondike minus 70. Freddie's 82 back, and Stenja minus 120. So interesting point standings there. Majeski is lurking. Is he going to run that race or no?
He's not on the entry list.
Correct. Which is kind of interesting, actually.
Trucks on Thursday night, aren't they?
Correct. And Mondike is on the entry list.
The 91 will unload, I have a feeling.
Hey, we decided to make the trip.
Yep.
Yeah. He's known to swoop in late and just dominate. So,
yep.
Guess he's not on the entry list, but we're cautiously optimistic that 91 will be unloaded. So, there's 22 entries as of today. Just some notables we touched on: Mon, Summers, Levon Vandergeest, Valento, Freddie, Stenjem, Lynch, Island, Gady, Sierkeski, Swanson, Martharler, and Mondike. So,
a couple interesting ones there in Island, making his return to super late model racing for the first time in a while.
Yep. Dean Cornelius.
Brian Sierkeski.
Yep.
Yeah. So
be interesting. So
it'll be an interesting race. So that'll be a good race.
Jacob Gady.
Yep.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be a good show. Race preview 4, Lucas Oil late models for the Lucas Oil late model nationals at Knoxville. Racing Thursday and Friday for $7,000 to win each night. Saturday night, the big one for $50,000. Saturday night, they will also be accompanied by the SLMR super late models as well. Just one side note on the entries, as you look at that, the World of Outlaws is off until September 27th. So I would expect all of those guys to pretty much show up in full force. So Should be a really, really good field of late models at Knoxville. So, if you remember, this is the race a year ago that Davenport made it very clear that he does not care for this place.
That's right. I forgot about that.
When you call a place a dump, and he goes, "Well, that's a pretty expensive dump." So, not a fan of the Knoxville. But last one, I had to mention this because the video surfaced on my Facebook feed this morning. I couldn't not. I was getting ready for the episode and I saw this. I'm like, I cannot not mention this one. For some of the Southern guys, you have the Southern All-Star Dirt Racing Series. So Southern All-Stars Dirt Super Late Models. Hear me out. They are headed to Anderson Motor Speedway. Yes, that is asphalt for $12,000 to win. The video is so weird to watch on Facebook. If you watch it, it's so weird to see. Basically, what they put out in terms of their statement, 99% of the Southern All-Star dirt rules apply with bodies and chassis and all this other stuff. They've put out their American Racer tire rule. It's an 8-tire show between practice, qualifying, heats, and the feature. So they get 8 tires. And one note of the whole show, there's $42,000 in payouts. So that's not an amount of money to blink an eye at.
It
So,
makes it worth the trip.
correct.
Makes it worth the trip.
Yeah. So I just saw that today. I'm like, man, you can't not mention it because it is so weird to see that dirt super on the asphalt, and it just it's hooked up. It doesn't kick out like you're so used to seeing. So
yeah.
But yeah, cool deal. It'll be interesting to see. I'm sure the place will be packed because it's an anomaly to say the least.
Yep, for sure.
So that'd be cool to see.
You want to hit on some other races that are happening next weekend before we get into our picks here, fantasy and picks?
Yeah, let's get down here to the date. Just 1 second here. So looking ahead to the coming week, obviously we've talked about the trucks and ARCA Menards making their return to Bristol. USEC Amsoil Sprint Cars, they head to Gas City I-69. Lucas Oil Late Models are at Knoxville. XR Super Series, Volunteer Speedway or the Bulls Gap for the Scorcher. NASCAR Xfinity Series, obviously with Bristol as well. High Limit at Eldora, as we had mentioned. Wisconsin State Championships for Crown Nationals. Paul Rice Sprint Cars, they head to Outlaw Motor Speedway. Wabam Dirt Late Models are at Sycamore. Going down a little further, World of Outlaw Sprint Cars are at Thunderbolt. XR Super Series makes the trip to Crossville. Midwest Tour at Elko, as we had mentioned. ARCA Menards West, they'll head to Madera. Is that how you say that? Madera Speedway. NASCAR Wheel and Modifieds, they'll head to Monadnock. Wabam Dirt Late Models make a trip to Plymouth. World of Outlaw Sprint Cars head to Thunderbolt. Past Super Late Models are at White Mountain Motorsports Park. The American Canadian Tour, also at White Mountain Park, for a show there as well. IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Series heads to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And then Formula One will be in Singapore. So kind of getting into the what we would consider fall special season.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of big races up for grabs this weekend as well.
Let's talk fantasy, shall we?
I suppose.
So I'm going to focus purely on the playoffs because obviously that's the points that matter right now. So I am currently in the lead in 394 points. Kellen, you are second with 335. Cam, you're at 325. Dietz is at 321. Gasman's Girls at 310. And then Sophie's Pit Picks is at 257. So it's can still change.
There's 8 races left.
8 races left. So just throwing that out there. That's where we sit right now.
Yep.
When it comes to our rolling race picks, I still hold off a pretty good lead. I'm at 1544. Cam, you gained a little bit of ground on me this week. You're at 1483, and then Kellen, you're at 1377. Coincidentally enough, we kind of finished in the same order last week as we did for picking order. So it's the same picking order for this week, with me getting first pick. And
Okay.
with my I have absolutely no idea who to go with here. I'm hoping that they bring the same tire back. I'm going with a guy that I figure has got some pretty good tire conference. He's pretty good at saving tires, and he's really good at saving gas. Give me Brad Keselowski to win.
Okay. So I did do a little research.
Who's next? Is it you?
Callan's next.
I did do a little research.
Correct.
My research dated back to Saturday, September 16th of 2023.
Last year's race.
The winner of that one was Denny Hamlin.
Okay.
Give me the 11.
The winner in the spring here as well. Well, was the winner of the spring can be questioned with an asterisk with the engine on it. That's neither here nor there.
He's going to shake that bubble up. Give me Denny.
Yep. All right, Cam, who do you got? That's you do.
Yeah, so I really had option one there, the old DH11, and I really didn't have a B option there.
We left you the field.
This is going to be, this could be a make or break here. I'm going to stay in the JGR camp, and I'm going to go nuts on the table, and I'm going to say Martin Truex Jr.
Not a bad pick.
No.
Not a bad pick.
No.
And
Can become a real, again, we said that winning cures all ailments. Well, him not liking full-time racing can be fixed really quick with a win.
Yep.
And with him sitting, 14 below the cut line, I think we're gonna we'll get a win, and we're gonna go on a victory tour here. So
all right.
It all starts on Friday afternoon at 3:00 Central Time and 4:00 Eastern with that practice session. We're gonna get dialed in, and qualifying at 4:05. We'll put her on the pin, and we'll see y'all in victory lane.
Fair enough.
Fair.
All right. You fellas got any thoughts before?
Side note, this is a final thought, dude. I kind of like this Thursday, Friday, Saturday schedule of racing this weekend. All night races, the kicking it off on Thursday night with a truck race, Friday night with the Xfinity, Saturday night the main show. Kind of like that dirt, 3-day show every night.
Yeah.
I kind of like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday layout.
I was gonna say, like, even looking at our schedule on Sunday, there's only 2 races: the IMSA sports cars at Indy, and then Formula One.
Yep. And Formula One we probably won't see because they're in Singapore.
Correct. So,
yeah.
Sunday will be a little bit of a relaxing day.
Football season.
Yeah. Wow. 8 more races for NASCAR. Then I start thinking about football.
True.
Although I did go to the game Sunday, so take that for what you feel like it's worth.
For sure.
All right. Any other thoughts here?
No. Good.
All right. Well, we were just saying that we're getting to that fall special season. As we get into that fall special season, that means championship season is right around the corner. As we always say, if you get that chance, go out to your local short track. That's they're wrapping up their seasons. They always appreciate the fans coming in. Drivers always appreciate it as well. End the year off strong with your local short tracks. We get to the end of the first round of playoffs here. We'll see what we have to discuss when we get to the next week here. And again, we got a lot of different types of racing going on here as well. So no shortage of it going on. So as always, make sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell for any notifications. Keep an eye out on our social pages as news gets released. We let go of our thoughts as well. As always, be on the lookout for shorts that get sent on YouTube. Be on lookout for next week's episode of Tuesday Track Talk. So we'll see you then.